All right. Well, so live up in Delaware, Ohio, and I own Strata Eco Solutions. I'm a one-man show. I've had my business for about 6 years now, but I have about 20 years in plants and soils and all that. My background is ecology and molecular soil science. So not your typical landscaper, lawn guy, kind of thing. Basically a chemistry and nature nerd that decided to start a business. My other options were engineering or medicine, and I decided I like nature better. I like getting my hands dirty. So I grew up on a farm out in Western Ohio, and then came to the big city, decided that the big city was too big. And so we moved up to Delaware. And I've been in this house for the last 16 years with my wife and three littles. But I love this. I've been talking about plants for 20 years, and I'm finding now that I'm getting more excited. A lot of the stuff that you see on the table over here, I've discovered in the last 2 or 3 years, and I keep discovering new varieties, and the more I discover, the more excited I get, and then I get to share that with you guys, and hopefully that passion just kind of emanates throughout the room, and then you guys will get excited as well. This is my garden, my rock garden. It's about 160 square feet, about 20 different species in it right now. You will see here in a few slides, I'm actually renovating it this year. It's too flat. It was when I put it in, I just learned about rock gardens, and got excited about it and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put some rock garden plants in. So I have my clay, added some organic matter to it, and put there's anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of pea gravel across that whole thing. And then I just started sticking plants in, and some lived, some didn't. This is the base of my existence. Together, guys, together, we're going to figure this out, I promise. Give me a few years of growing those things, and then hopefully we can grow them in Ohio. We will talk about that, yes. I have a whole slide for those things. We'll take some time and talk, but my goal is to go through these slides, and we'll just I'm going to give you guys some information. Hopefully we can make the presentation available, whether it's digital or PDF, something like that. And then, but I want to leave some time for discussion as well, because I know you guys have all your own questions, or there's people in here that are even more well-seasoned than me. I've been in this 20 years. I think you guys have probably been in it 30, 40 even. So you have knowledge as well to share, but that's the cool thing about this. I don't know anything in this world that brings more community and makes people more happy than gardening. I really don't. It is just primal. It's something that since we've existed on this planet, we have gardened in one form or another. We have shaped this planet for thousands of years with our hands, right? And so I don't know. I mean, yes, there are times when I'm in the garden that I throw things, or there are times that I look at a plant and I'm like, it died. I lost a beautiful weeping redbud this year. That deep cold we got, something happened. It's got flowers at the very, very bottom. The thing's like 9 feet tall with a trunk the size of my arm, and it just died. I have no idea why. It got tired or something. But it happens, right? But we move on. And you know what? I'm going to take that out. It opens room. There's now a hole for me to put a different plant in, right? You've got soil. If there's a spot in the garden that has mulch on it, there should be a plant there instead, right? my wife keeps asking me, she's like, how many more plants are you going to buy? See that mulch? How many plants is that? That's how I garden. I garden according to how many plants I can fit in that spot. Right. So I've got several hundred. I think my house is about 1,400 square feet. I think I have 2,000 square feet of garden. My entire property is just all gardened up. So I get very excited about this. I'm very passionate. With my business, I do so when I go on a property, I'm looking to create ecological balance. So background in conservation and ecology, things like that. I like to be healthy. So I try and avoid chemicals where I can. Weed killers, I still have not found a bunch of organic ones that are like super, super effective. There are some that are effective, but they are very expensive. And especially in a commercial setting, I can't offer that. So I do tell people things like neem oil, are great. I guess that's something I didn't put in the presentation was, getting into like pesticides and fungicides and all that stuff. But honestly, 90 to 95% of the time I use neem oil. You know, I, it's like the guy from my big fat Greek wedding and spray a little Windex on it. I use neem oil. I'm just like, get your neem oil, you know, for pests and different things like that. So, but I do absolutely love what I do. Took my passion and ran with it, and now it's paying off. So, there we go, caught up. These are my littles. This is one of the reasons I get so excited. This is Drake, Barrett, and Briella. They love playing in the garden, and every time when I bring home new plants, you know, they're like, "Daddy, what's that?" You know, and they get excited about them. They've all had stickers in their hands from. I've got a cholla in the garden too, and one of them got into that the other day and had a sticker in his hand. Barrett, my little bear here, he literally is. He's a strong, tough little dude. He's 4. He loves being in the garden with me, and he's like, "Daddy, I want to be you when I grow up." You know, he says that. He's like, "I'm going to follow you everywhere." I mean, how can I not get more excited about this when he says that, right? Then my beautiful little daughter, Briella, over there, you know, she's not even afraid. Like the allium there will be full of bees and pollinators, and she's down there to get her face in it and all that. They've never been stung, you know, so we teach our children, so many people teach their children to be afraid of the pollinators. You know, don't go near the bees. And I mean, that's literally at the bottom of my front steps as we walk out of the house. Thousands of bees everywhere. No one's ever been stung. You know, the kids love it. So moving into this, you know, what is Xeric? We hear that term. You know, a lot of times we talk about rock gardening, right? But what we're actually doing we're Xeric gardening. We're gardening for dry situations. So, you know, things that are Xeric only require just a little bit of moisture, you know, or a little bit at a time. You know, so these are things that can live in dry environments. So Xeric. And then at the beginning in the title, you know, I said an Eden of rocks and plants. Most people don't think of that as an Eden. You know, when you mention Eden to somebody, you think more like Garden of Eden, right? Lush and tropical and just green everywhere. But for us, that's Eden, right? You go out there and you're like, what can I find? So what makes a plant xeric then, right? We have tropical plants, we have, you know, water plants, we have these xeric plants, right? So this is a wide range of plants. You know, there's some plants that can go years without water. You know, the resurrection plant, it's actually I think that's a laginella, like a moss. You know, when you put the water in it, it kind of opens up, does its thing, and closes up again and rolls across. And so you can go years without water, you know, but other xeric plants too are like coneflower. You know, we all know coneflower, that's a xeric plant. So you know, you hear the term xeric and water wise, drought tolerant, you know, that sells plants, you know, so that's how you know, I tell my clients, you know, that your lawn is going to become drought tolerant. We have those nice green rugs in between all the gardens and all that, and that we want to make those drought tolerant. So a lot of our lawn grasses, especially here in the Midwest, we like those to be xeric. You know, we like them to be water wise because I don't know if you guys know, the last 4 years we've had some drought, right? And so our rock gardens love it. Lawn, they will go dormant, you know, they'll come back, but xeric plants tend to have either deep roots, right? They'll shoot a root down. Acacias, this guy here, you know, he's in a desert. That thing is growing. Look at the dunes and all that. There might be rain there sometimes once a year, you know, a couple inches a year. Yet that plant is thriving, and it's because there are aquifers 20 and 30 feet underground. And this thing has shot roots. Think about that, what it takes. It's hard enough for you to just even get a shovel into the soil. And this tree is shooting roots 20 and 30 feet into the soil to find an aquifer and get water. It's not getting water from rain. These are underground rivers that it has tapped into. And then there's other ones like, I think it's a saguaro, some of the other cacti that have root systems that can extend out 200 feet, 100 feet. They're very shallow, fibrous root systems. And so when it rains, they soak up as much water as they can. And they, you know, like with cacti, we have the pleats and all that, right? So it gets big and swells. and it's got its giant water reservoir filled, and it can go another 2 or 3 months without water or even longer. So they'll have wide root systems as well. They have a waxy cuticle. That's that on the leaf, right? It's what makes that leaf so shiny on your adenium, that waxy cuticle. So, we keep plants inside all winter long, and then a lot of us are like, oh yeah, that'll be fine. You just throw them out on the patio and half of them die. Because all winter long they've been growing and their cuticle got thinner, right? And so you need to harden them off, a few hours a day over the course of a couple of weeks. They get that cuticle thicker, then they can be under that UV. The UV is what fries them, and the cuticle protects them against that. And so cacti, succulents, succulent type plants that can withstand dry situations tend to have a thicker waxy cuticle on those leaves. They have succulent tissue. I talked about the cactus, right? Succulent tissue is a water reservoir. Cacti especially reduce their leaf area. Euphorbias, like we're going to talk about, a lot of euphorbias grow leaves, but a lot of us never see those because we stress them out. When they're in ideal situations, they'll grow leaves in between all the spines, but then as soon as they get stressed, they shed those leaves and just rely on the green coloration of their skin to do photosynthesis. So a lot of the Xeric plants have even foregone leaves. They've gotten rid of them and turned green, their whole body. And then you think about like old man cactus or even some of the like pale purple coneflower and black-eyed Susans. The leaves are fuzzy, right? The leaves on those plants are fuzzy. And they're there, sometimes they're there like an old man cactus that blocks UV from frying the plant. But there's also a dual purpose with those. When you get humidity in the air or you get like a dewy, nice, misty morning, it's going to gather moisture for that plant and soak through the skin or even drain down. A lot of those plants are designed so that water is forced down into the center. You think about the like dragon palms are in the Dracaena family, the ones that live in, I think it's Madagascar. They're the big umbrella-looking trees. Those trees are actually designed when the fog in those mountains forms, it gathers on the plants, and the way the plant grows, all those branches go to the center. All of that water is going right down and goes down the trunk and into the root system right there at the base. It's really, really cool. Blows your mind. Incredible design. But they are not drought proof. They eventually need water. We think sometimes now, like we talk about with the Louisia in Ohio, right? Don't touch it because we get so much, So once they're established, they can tolerate low moisture situations. Soils are typically low in nutrients. I'm just doing some kind of foundational stuff. We're going to start talking about design here in a minute. You think soils lower in nutrients. And then we talk about organic matter, right? And to a person who is growing a cactus garden or plants that are supposed to be in gravelly substrate, you think, oh, no, stay away from the organic matter, right? Because organic matter holds moisture. For what I do around here, I tell people, you want water to hold in your soil, put organic matter. So you can have varying levels of organic matter in your garden, depending on the plant that you're growing. The soils are rocky, sandy, gritty, think gritty. What's really neat is they are typically full sun, but you think about even like baby saguaro cacti, they can't survive in the full sun. A saguaro seedling needs to grow under an adult saguaro or underneath a mesquite tree. They need to grow in that area or they will die. They'll dry out and they'll die. So just think about our children, right? They can't survive out there. We got to help them. And the saguaro cacti are the same way. This was an interesting stat that I looked up recently. So my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live out in Cedar City, Utah. We live in Ohio. We're both zone 6B. Right? So if you're going just on temperatures, we're both zone 6B. But Ohio, our average humidity across the course of the year, I mean, even today it feels humid. We're at 60 to 70%, sometimes even up to 90 or 100% humidity. I always tell people if you want to experience all the climates from around the world, come to Ohio. We were down, I think, what was it, last summer in August? I believe we reached about 25 or 30% humidity a couple days. It was really low. And all the, DNR and all that were like, do not start a fire. The whole world will burn, But we average 60 to 70% humidity in the air, right? So that's just water in the air. So if you think about out in Utah or, Arizona, New Mexico, kind of that Southwest area, over the course of the year, they have highly variable humidity ranges, averaging 5 to 50%. But I was talking to my brother-in-law, and, during their dry season, their fire season, I don't know, 15, 20, 30% humidity on average, but they're the same growing zone we are. So then we start thinking about what are called eco regions, so there's a lot of people, especially like in my trade and stuff, when you get deeper into this, you start thinking, well, it's zone 6B. If you go online, you're buying your plant, what are you buying them according to? The zone, the growing zone. Well, this Louisia will grow in zone 6B, or will it? Right? So you got to think about a lot more than just the growing zone. And as you guys are well aware, we have a large gradient of species we can grow in these gardens, especially here in Ohio, because our situation is so highly variable. In these gardens, the biggest key, and if you've been in this for any number of years, your crown is what you're most concerned about. The crown of the plant. It's where your roots grow from. It's where your stems and leaves grow from. You want that area to stay mostly dry. That's where a lot of the rot starts. The crown rot will start even before the roots rot a lot of times. So, like when you're planting these plants, we were actually talking earlier, a few of us, when you plant these, and again, I don't know how to get the Louisia to grow in that soil, but when you take this out of the pot and you're going to put it in your garden, you got to strip all this off. It's going to hold way too much moisture and it's just going to rot. So you want to strip these, or at least the top inch or so, to get that crown in the gravel where it's going to stay dry. And then even like the sedums, it's super tough, but you're only going to help these plants that can grow in these situations by stripping off a lot of that soil that's going to hold moisture. We don't necessarily fertilize. What's really cool, if you're a weather geek, the rain actually carries fertilizer in it. Especially when you have lightning. Lightning produces a lot of nitrogen. How the corn grows like crazy. But there's a lot of minerals in the rain as well. The tiny little particles, the dust particles, and all that. A lot of them are minerals. And we talked earlier about some being watered by humidity. One of the things that we try and do is plant the whole season, right? We're always planting. But one of the things with these that we need to think about is that if you plant them too late in the season, say you're at a show in August or in the fall, there's a big sale, at a garden center, and you're like, I'm going to pick up all the stuff that's left over, and there's a bunch of sedums and other things, and then you go and put them in your garden. Well, now they haven't had time to establish their root system before winter hit. Last year we had a freeze in November and then rain all through December. It shut my season down. I sat on my butt for 3 months last winter because we had so much rain and then cold weather and everything else. So anything that I put in the ground in September heaved because it had no root system established. And so it heaved out. So I had to replant it or it just died. I had some stuff rot that has never rotted before, but I planted it too late in the season. All right, so switching gears. So now we're going to start talking about design. Those were just some kind of foundational things to think about, maybe when you're buying plants or when you're planting your garden. So with Xeric Garden design, and again, I go back to Xeric Garden because it's not just rock gardens, right? We have, prairie type gardens, or you can include prairie wildflower plants in your Xeric garden, to the rock gardens that contain cacti and succulent type plants and all that, all the way to, we're going to talk a little bit about crevice gardens today too. And if you've never heard of a crevice garden or talked about them, they are really, really neat. And now they're becoming trendy. It's becoming a trend.
There's one thing painted a crevice garden right out here at Franklin Park.
Yeah, it's like 18 inches wide and like 30 feet long.
Yeah.
And it is in the most horrible spot on the entire property.
It is.
It's awful. Salt, snow, rain, wind, everything. Oh yeah, it is and it's like right next to the asphalt, and the plants are thriving. Yeah. So
They think they're very tiny, right by the pathway to.
yeah, well, you know.
Waiting for something.
Oh yeah, just leg right on. Get those Glokins in there.
Oakland Farm. Yeah, Oakland Avenue.
Okay, yeah.
That one, the Minden area, they had a huge bunch in their box.
Oh yeah.
They moved it last year or the year before.
Okay. Somebody probably got into it, you know, and then when it was like, my kid has a handful, it's fine.
They
Well,
probably were able to sell it for a while.
what did he learn? Not to touch the cactus. So there is a lot of information even just in this slide. So with Xeric Garden Design, and I'm a more of a talker. I like discussing things. With Xeric Garden Design, you know, the first question you ask yourself is, number one, where to start, right? Where do we start? You know, I usually think about, well, where am I putting the garden? You know, like think about in your location, where do you have mulch available or a spot available that you want to convert? You know, because it can be full sun, part sun, shade. There are Xeric gardens that are shade. You know, there's plants, succulent type plants. This guy right here, sedum tornatum. This is our Ohio native sedum. This can go full sun to almost full shade and do really, really well. You know, so there are plants that you can garden with in the shade that are in our realm of awesomeness. And then, so we talked that hit the sun exposure, right? What is the sun exposure? Your grade. Are you flat like mine? You know, I want some height. Are you on a slope, which is really awesome because then you can set everything into it and you got kind of, or do you have a spot on your property? You know, you might even have a spot on your property that is a stone shelf where you have like an outcrop, a natural outcrop on your property that's vertical, which is, that's incredible, you know? Or you have like an old rock wall, you know, like you've seen like Dublin or something like that. You can start packing some little bit of rocks and soil in there and stuff plants in right into it. And, you know, that's actually, these are cliff mates, you know? Saxifrage down there, that's another cliff dwelling plant. You know, so there's a lot of plants that will grow in all of those different situations. Your existing soil, right? So a lot of us just have clay. Some of us have peanut butter clay. Some of us have rocky clay. Some of us just have hard brick clay. But yeah, now let's talk about that Ohio clay. It is full of nutrients, it's full of minerals, but it does not drain at all. So you're probably going to have to either dig down into it if you can't go up, right? You're gonna have to remove that soil and then put the gravel in or whatever gravelly mix you're using, or you're gonna be able to build up on it and even do like a mound, which is cool, or you just kind of lay on top of it. If you don't really want to build it up, you can also layer right on top of it. But you're going to need to create a well-drained, when we talk about Xeric gardens, you do want something well-drained, something that doesn't really hold a ton of water. You know, and it's typically, it's so interesting, you have these prairies that are just so full of life and all that, and the soils in and of themselves are not all that fertile. That all the nutrients are in the plants. So that's why when the prairies were taken down and moved to farms, there were all those root systems and everything that decomposed, released the nutrients, and those soils are some of the most fertile in the world. Western Ohio is the eastern portion of the plains till soil, and great for agriculture.
The Black Swamp.
Yeah, yep. I grew up in the southernmost tip there on Grand Lake St. Mary's. There are people where I grew up that have 3 feet of topsoil. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
In non-super rainy years, they get the best crops in the entire county. In the rainy years, they use their crop insurance. Then you think about, you know, what soil moisture levels are you going for, right? You need, and this is all based on the plants you want to put in, you know, you need your soils to drain very quickly. Can you actually have some organic matter in those soils? Can you incorporate a little bit of compost, you know, to help those plants grow even better? You know, what are we putting there? You know, what kind of plants do you want to put in? Then honestly, in this situation, because none of this is natural, right? These plants aren't native. Some of these are native to sedum tornatum, but most of them aren't native to Ohio. You're not going to find these in the wild in Ohio. So you have to remove yourself from saying, I'm only going to use my native soil to, I'm going to make this plant grow here. You know, and that's what I've been studying for 20 years. I went all the way down to molecular soil science because I wanted to be able to grow anything, anytime, anywhere for any reason. And so then you start learning how to manipulate your soil to make this stuff grow. So that's the mindset you have to approach this with. You know, you're going to change the environment to make these plants grow there. So based on that, then we look at plant locations. You know, one of the things with a lot of these is that, you know, some of these might need scorching sun, and this is a very, very small sample, but some of these might want scorching sun. Other ones like the afternoon sun, some like the morning sun. You know, so doing research on each species you're going to put in will help you design the garden even better. Understanding, you know, this is an adventure, right? This is a journey you're going to go on. It's not going out on a Saturday and saying, I like that, I like that, I like that. We do that, right? We all go to the garden center and we're like, you're going home with me. You are so amazing. Well, then you get on your phone or you get on your computer at home and just look the plant up. You know, look, go to species on it, right? So if I'm looking up, you know, sedum tornatum, I'm gonna Google sedum tornatum native range. You know, it's gonna show me where it grows, and I'm gonna look up native soil, and it's gonna tell me what kind of soil it grows in. Google is absolutely incredible, especially that Google AI. As frightening as it is super helpful. So then that will tell you in your design where to put the plants, right? Can it go on the flat ground? Do we want it higher up on a rock? Does it need afternoon shade? Things like that. And then you get to go into then, once you've decided on all your plants you want to put in, what kind of rocks are we going to put in? This is a rock garden, right? So we get to, you know, cool stuff like these right here, you know, where these are just obviously little baby versions. This morning I put in versions that were like this for a client, but these actually all came from local suppliers. Even this really cool guy, this crystal here, that I have honestly no idea where it came from. I got this at Acorn Nursery, so the wholesale side of Oakland. They have bins full of this rock. It is incredible. I have one rock that you'll see that is a solid crystal virgin. Yes.
Mm-hmm. How do you do it? Because the largest I had along that it was basically put like a better looking comfort in front of the gas meter in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Hit a gas meter, then there's the house where I have to do up.
Sure.
In a couple of hours.
Yep.
So, but essentially they dropped off the skin on the knee skin. And I will kind of maneuver the knee skin a couple of feet and then really go apart for the full bar. And that was the best thing to place it. How the heck do you place what's wrong?
That's actually the same. It's the same way I do it. Yeah, I own a mini skid, the Bobcat, 3 foot wide, you know, with the forks on the front. And I use forks and I'll manipulate the rock on a flat surface before I even put it on. Like I'll kind of manipulate it with the machine. I'll look at the site, manipulate the rock into position, put the forks underneath the rock, lift it so that it is in position on the forks. Now, a lot of the rocks that I place are between anywhere from like 300 to 600 pounds, and I can manipulate those by hand if I need to. I've been doing this 6 years now, and you just develop the kinesthetics for it, I guess. I will. So I won't necessarily lift them, but I will, you know, two-hand them and kind of like that, you know. Exactly. Yeah, you literally, if you want to save your body in this industry, you learn kinesiology. But yeah, so that's a good question, you know, because basically those bigger rocks, anywhere from like 400 up to 1,000 pounds, wherever they go, that's it. They're in place, you know. So hopefully you excavate it under a little bit, you know, so that rock has someplace to sit. And then yeah, when you put it in position, that first little while before the rock even settles in place, you might be able to maneuver it a little, but ideally you're in a situation where you can just drop the rock off the forks and it goes into place, you know, or you've got a couple people to help you move it around. But you're using machinery. That's the only way you can. you have to use a machine because they're so heavy and they're really awkward. I mean, it is, you wouldn't think that something that's just like kind of round, that would be so awkward to try and get your hands on and move. They really are. It's like trying to move a refrigerator. They're really, really, does that help at all?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to answer your question, the same way that you guys did it, basically. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that carry, they call it spud bar. It's a big, long piece of steel that's got a spade on one end. And sometimes you even need to get under it and you just, put a rock underneath the bar and then lift and move. And yeah, it's all fulcrum, because you're moving stuff that can weigh, 400 to 1,000 pounds. My machine maxes out at 1,000, and I've only maxed it out one time with a rock. So these rocks can get pretty big before they hit 1,000 pounds. So that you answered the last question, rock locations, right? So we think about the locations of where we want to put those rocks because hopefully you don't have to move them again. I had a question the other day from one of our family friends. She loves gardens too, but I told her I was redoing my garden and I was going to be putting a bunch of rocks in and all that. She's like, "You're not moving, right? Like you're not going anywhere else." I was like, I mean, if we do, I've got a lot of work because you'd be moving the whole garden. But yeah, I mean, it's these, when you get into this kind of stuff, it's permanent. I mean, it's permanent, especially if you're paying a company to come in and do it. So you have to consider that before you make the garden as well. This is actually a design I just did for a client. I'm actually installing this garden on Thursday. This is 120 square feet. And what you see there, the B's are all boulders. So there's six boulders going in there. This is how I do my design. And then the letter A there is actually a native grass. And then there's just all kinds of different plants like ice plant, the Delosperma, and then a bunch of the stuff I'm talking about here is going in there. And then the letter C, those are all like smaller rocks and do like little piles of smaller rocks, so each garden you do, I've got pictures of sample gardens. Each garden you do is going to be different. Everybody's garden is going to be different. Conceptually, you can use pictures online, but then we need to design our garden for us. And that's where friends come in, ask for help, ask for ideas. You guys, oh my gosh, we have an amazing group of minds in here. So this is the location. Catch up. There we go. This is the location where it's going. So this is 11 by 11. So the landscape company that installed their landscaping, they had them do this. And then I talked to the client. I was like, "You gotta take all that out for gardening." They were like, "Okay." So yeah, there's a couple tons of it. That is a black southwestern type pebble. What is it? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So they had that all put in. These rocks are like 3 and 4 inches in diameter. I mean, they're not small. I have to remove all that. So yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, that was very, very expensive. So I have to remove it all, put it on a tarp over here, pull off there's cloth underneath it. I'll take the cloth off, and then I'm going to actually excavate 3 inches of soil of the clay, and then I'm going to fill it back in with pea gravel. And then they don't want anything coming up through this rock. So this is the final top dress. So that means I have to put the fabric on the pea gravel. And then I'm going to cut the fabric so that when I put the plants in, they'll still be in the pea gravel, but under the fabric, right? And then the boulders and rocks are all going to go in, and then this will all be placed by him. So quite the job. That ended up costing about double what I typically charge because of that rock being used. And the way it's going to go is that it'll be bigger boulders back here and kind of a wedge coming forward to smaller boulders and lower growing plants out here, because that's the primary view of the garden. And then over here, you can see there, this is actually going to be a tiny little crevice garden. So I'm going to show you some samples. Most crevice gardens right now are put in pots, but there are some that people are putting in beds. Crevice garden is rock. Oh my gosh, it takes a ton of rock. So there are ways to do it with less rock, but it's going to be like the vertical slabs If you guys haven't looked up crevice gardening, it is so cool. It is really, really neat. You're mimicking cliffs when you make them. So then we move on to my house. So that garden in the front, in the first picture you saw in the front, this is what it looks like right now. Whoa. Yeah, this was taken 3 days ago. I am in demolition mode right now. So I took out an old shrub right here. Took out a shrub right there. And so that removed all the height, but now I'm putting boulders in back there. So that line is the new edge of the garden. And you can see it's very flat. It actually kind of comes down this way a little bit. It's very, very shallow grade, but I got plants in there I got to remove. And so it's going to be, I'm going to show you some more pictures of kind of what I'm going for when I recreate it. But here's another angle. We don't have to catch up there. So that's kind of looking from the back out to the road. So you see, I'm in a development, right? I'm in a neighborhood, you know, so that's what, a lot of times you see the pictures of these gardens and it's just, you see the garden and it's all framed in and all that. You have no idea where they're located. A lot of the pictures are located in neighborhoods like this, where people are creating these beautiful gardens. And then there's a front photo. So you can kind of see, this is what I'm working with. So this is from the street, where it's just so flat. And so I've got boulders, you know, 18 and 24-inch boulders going in back here. And then I'm going to put smaller one, and then I'm going to fill in with gravel. So there could be 12 inches of gravel in some of these rocks that I'm putting in, like in between the rocks, you know, where I'm going to layer this. So this next slide is these gardens are beautiful. Would we all agree, right? Those look really nice. These are in, I think, Colorado City. They're out in Colorado. This is a guy called the Xeric Garden, and he uses High Country Gardens for a lot of his plants. All of this is incredible. Again, dry. It's so dry where he's located. That's all ice plant. All of that in between the stairs. Wouldn't you love that? I've made him survive 3 to 4 years. Yeah.
You know, they weren't big spreader type things, but they were hard and deep.
Yeah.
They were hard, but I put them in, basically used cinder blocks.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what they talk about. High Country Gardens did a feature on him, and I just loved the design so much. I wanted to show you guys what these look like. So he has a big slope here. Underneath all of that is just gravel, and more gravel. You know, that's with these gardens, you're moving a lot of gravel. Yes. Oh, that's okay.
So, for example, when you took pictures of that, we did garden that you're replacing the Mexican River basically mixing the soil organic matter into the pea gravel you're going to put in. Or you just put in the gravel and hope that something settles in from the rain.
So that's a very good question. So the question was, am I going to put any organic matter in the pea gravel when I put the pea gravel? And the short answer to that is you don't need to if you don't want to. Previously, you know, like for example, your sedums, sempervivums, the hens and chicks, a lot of these Xeric plants are very forgiving in the amount of moisture and the nutrient load in the soil. So they're highly adaptable. So if you were to put, you know, when I did this this garden here, this has about 5% organic matter in the gravel itself. So I've used the Zubru from Price Farms up in Delaware. It's got about 13 different kinds of organics in it to make up the compost. So I did about a 5% compost in this. I mean, that's a cholla right there. Should be in Texas. It's actually doing really well. Euphorbia, that's Euphorbia bonfire. This is Euphorbia mercenites. This is a hen and chick. Let's see. There's another sedum, like a carpet style sedum there that's super aggressive. I ended up pulling it out. But those plants, sedum angelina over there, that one's very aggressive. So you got to kind of keep it in check. They all love it, you know? So you really, the question is, the plant you're putting in there, what is the native soil? You know, looking at what the native soil is, if it has organic matter or if it's just gravel. You know, where a lot of these cliff dwellers go, you know, it's just, you might have a little bit of sediment that gets in those cracks. But, you know, one of the things I wonder is like lithops, for example, where they grow native, like there's dirt there, right? But we grow them in gravel in the US, right? The decomposed granite, I use that for my base for lithops. But where they are located in South Africa, in that native soil, there's some actual sand and silt and stuff in that soil that's gonna
grow association with places where there's plenty of pebbles.
Right. Yeah. So I would think actually in that soil probably the organic matter would be lower because there's not a lot of fleshy green type plants growing in that soil. They don't get a lot of rain though either in that area. So the answer to that is you could probably do about a 5% organic matter if you needed to. But we were talking a little bit ago, and I was saying that Christina now. I was saying that I just recently discovered, it's funny because I'm a soil guy. I've always focused on organic, but the plants can get minerals from the gravel itself. So you got, especially if it's a sedimentary rock like sandstone or something like that, it's going to leach some of those minerals out. And the roots are right in it. Especially if you use mycorrhizae with the plant, you know, you're going to expand that root system and it's going to be able to get even attached. Like if you lift these plants out a lot of time, there's a bunch of gravel attached to the root. Like the roots actually bind to the gravel. And so at some level, the ionic level, they are pulling some nutrients out of that gravel. They're way tougher than we give them credit for. But that's a great question.
I have a question. So like I use a mix of pea gravel and crushed limestone for my bed. Is there like a ratio that you prefer? Because I kind of alternated, like whatever was on sale.
Right.
The pea gravel was on sale. I got both pea gravel, just the number 8 limestone was on sale. I got the number 8 limestone.
Yeah.
If I haven't seen much of a difference in my garden, but does that make a difference?
To me, yes, it would, because you've got pea gravel, which is going to be pH kind of inert, you know, probably about a 7 or whatever if you were able to measure the pH of gravel, right? But we know that limestone is calcium carbonate, right? In a laboratory setting, and thank you for bringing that up, because I talk about this with clients all the time. We have limestone bedrock in Ohio, right? Our primary bedrock here is limestone sedimentary. You can chip it, you can pulverize it, you know, agricultural lime has some gypsum in it too, but it's you know, from limestone. Lime wants to make the soil a pH of 8. So as it breaks down through acidification, so you have water getting in, if you get sulfur in that too, if you get some sulfur, you get sulfuric acid, and it breaks the limestone down and it produces a carbonic situation. And so then you're raising your pH in the soil. So when someone tells me that they put lime on their lawn, I'm just like, we're in Central Ohio. Our soil pH is already 7.5.
Right.
Do not put lime in your soil. Okay, I actually add sulfur if needed. I've found over time that adding humate and using organic matter will lower that pH over time. Now in our garden, the only reason that I would probably bring a limestone gravel in is if those plants were ericaceous or based in like a karst environment. So that is that they're growing in the wild, in nature, that they're growing in a limestone situation naturally. You know, because that would mean that they can tolerate a higher pH. Most plants like to be between a 5.5 and maybe like a 6.5 to 7. That's really an ideal pH situation for almost every plant in the world. But there are a lot of plants that occur where you have that limestone outcrop, or you have a situation like that. So if you add limestone to your beds, like the gravel, you are going to raise the pH of that over time. So you would just want to make sure that the plants that you're putting in there can tolerate that higher pH situation. So that's a great question. Thank you.
Some,
So
some plants are. Well, some of them won't take the higher, or they have a higher pH, and some of them, it's specifically, they will take rock.
right. Yeah. Well, and with lime, you're getting a rapid increase in pH, you know, and things like that. So it's, yeah. I mean, you got to be careful with that too.
So, you know, like doing that, maybe you're looking for plants that grow on the cliffs of Dover, which is
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, I'm gonna talk about the actual plants themselves here in a little bit, and don't let me forget to talk about native soil if I don't mention that. Yes.
Would you like to make a comment about the impact of concrete, since you're on this subject? Because we've got a high pH and if you build retaining walls.
Yeah.
By all these concrete blocks.
Yeah. So that's an interesting situation. Concrete does break down over time, but it's many, many, many years. So we'd have to look at we'd have to see, who was it? There's a garden. Plant Delights Nursery has a massive garden. I think they're the ones that have like 43,000 species that they're growing on one property. Yeah. And I think it's Plant Delights Nursery. I think it's the Carolinas, maybe? Yeah. And I watched a video on this recently because it said, you know, nursery has massive crevice garden. You know, I was doing more research on crevice garden. They tasked their main grower. They said, we want a crevice garden. You need to put in a big crevice garden. We're going to grow thousands of plants in this crevice garden, but you don't get any money. He's like, excuse me? You want to put in this giant garden? So he contracted with some local construction companies that were doing street replacements and sidewalk replacements and got these 4-inch slabs of concrete. And he made the entire crevice garden out of broken concrete slab. And he said, don't ever let anybody tell you they're giving you free concrete. He said, concrete is never free. What it took to move those, and they had to get machinery, because these are, again, 4 and 6 inch slabs. Yeah, they had to break them down, they had to set them, they had to get the soil in between them, and all that stuff. And so, you know, they were not concerned when they put that in, because they have species that grow all over the world. They were not concerned, at least he didn't mention anything about leachate from the concrete itself. And I have to wonder if the Portland cement, that binder that's in it, is preventing some of that leachate. And also, again, it would just be on the surface, you know, of the concrete. So
That's a how fresh the concrete is.
that's, yeah, right. Right. If it's been cured for years and years, it's already leached a bunch. Whereas limestone gravel in and of itself, I mean, it's constantly breaking down.
Concrete roads, we have salt.
Well, I think these were mostly sidewalks, but I don't know. That's a good question. These plants were flourishing. Yeah, they got their electrolytes. Yeah, that's a good. He probably, I mean, I'm sure he would have thought about that. You know, I'm sure they had a meeting about like, are we going to accept this concrete? You know, because I mean, it was tons. But I believe it was Plant Delights Nursery, and they have, it's like Jupiter Gardens or some name like that. It's a big botanical garden that they run with or manage, and it was beautiful. And it is the Carolinas, because he said they had lithops growing in the US. He said they're flourishing. Blew my mind. Yeah, and they were actually under a ledge, so the rain wasn't hitting them. They have lithops.
They're growers.
He has them overwintering in the Carolinas.
Well, no, they get cold.
Carolinas are a little colder now, too. They had snow and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know when this video was made, but it was really, really cool. Like this guy literally outside in his garden, he was like, oh, I need to grow lithops. And I was like, what? I can barely get them to grow in my kitchen. You know?
Maybe gardens used to, you know, give temperature tolerances.
Yeah.
One gardens will take 10 degrees.
You can tell like they were mounding and everything, like they were growing. It is, yeah. Yeah, well, and he said the biggest thing is it is protected from the rain, right? Otherwise, I mean, we know they only need water like 6 times a year, you know?
Right.
So really cool, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to show you these pictures because a lot of us, again, think of rock gardens and we think desert. We always, our minds just go straight to desert. Look at the beauty in this color. We've got lavender and we've got Cytotes grama, probably an Agastache. Let's see what else is in there. I don't know, a bunch of really, really beautiful. Probably, yeah, probably, yeah. Oh, here?
This side.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that right there. Yeah. Yeah, probably a Hesperella, something like it. So they're mixing all of this, right? You've got these prairie plants and these things can grow. Especially I'm learning lavender does not like high organic matter. I have killed so many lavenders. I think this stuff would grow in a roadside if we put it there. But anyway, you can mix all of this coneflower. That looks like maybe some Indian grass or something like that. These are growing in these rock xeric type gardens. A lot of these plants, especially your grasses and some of your wildflowers, they'll shoot roots down 4 to 6. I have a chart that'll show big blue stem and Indian grass can shoot roots in the ground 15 feet. They will find the water. Oh, yeah. And it takes over. So anyway, just don't limit yourself to succulents and, different things like that. Think outside, include color. I mean, look at that. Look at that gorgeous garden. That's not all succulents. That's not all cacti. You've got grasses in there. You've got wildflowers. You've got ground covers, probably some sempervivum somewhere. But you can have so much beautiful color in these gardens. I love bee balm for the rock garden. It is one tough plant, man. That's like I call. Oh yeah, and I mean I've got bee balm that grows 8 to 10 inches tall. I got bee balm that gets 4 and 5 feet tall. There's one for every
spread out like crazy.
And it smells. Oh my gosh, I love how bee balm smells.
Moves. I don't think it moves. Because where it was, it's not there anymore. It's moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
It's like mushroom.
have that happen sometimes, right? Yeah, it gets like the donut effect. Where it shoots out little runners and it goes out like 6 inches a year, and then you got to plant a new plant right now. Yeah, or you can actually take those and divide them and then interplant them and stuff like that. You could probably get a few colors of bee balm planted with a new color. That'd be cool. So this is kind of when I'm thinking about redoing my garden, this is kind of what I'm thinking, where you got like a pile of rocks with gravel between, and then you put all your cool stuff there. So this is if you're on the North American, North American Rock Garden Society? I think that's another group. This guy just posted this a few days ago, so I did give him photo credit. But this is his garden off the corner of his house, and you can see he's got some opuntia in there. I really want this one. This is like a little potato opuntia. That is so cool. You get it. I'm not a big fan of opuntias because of the glow kids or the glockets, however you want to say it, but that is wicked awesome. Yeah. My kids will love it. I'll tell them like, don't eat it. It's not a potato. Yeah. So it looks like he's got maybe like a yucca filamentosa in that back there, but you can see, when you're thinking about designing your garden, you can use stuff like this for inspiration, a bunch of these are all glacial boulders, glacial erratics, this is Minnesota. This garden's up in Minnesota too. So he's what? 5A, 4B, so some hardy plants he's got here, which is why it's not very diverse. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's glaciated. So yeah.
That's
I think that might be a sedum in the right bottom. But anyway, so fewer plants in this garden, right? With a lot of rocks. You're not moving this garden very quickly if you move your house, but you're just kind of making it look like a natural, cliff collapse or something like that, where the boulders would have spilled out, and then he's made a mound. So that's an option. And then you tuck the rocks, right? You tuck the rocks in and then plant the plants between the rocks. So when you're thinking about it, when you're coming up with your ideas, and the rocks don't have to be big, like That's an average size rock. You know, those are good. And you can get rocks that, you know, I've got a lot of rocks that are like this size, and anybody in this room can handle a rock that size. You can roll it around or move it, use your wheelbarrow, I use a dolly. I'll strap rocks to a dolly. I got like an 800-pound dolly, and I'll move 400-pound rock with that dolly, you know? I think that's Yucca Nana. I have one that I'm trying to grow right now. It's really cool. If you've never heard of that one, that's as big as it gets. 6 to 12 inches.
or something like that.
Yeah, it's a weird, really long, weird name, but they just call it Yucca Nana. And it gets so funny. The yucca itself is only that big, but it gets a 6-foot flower that's fragrant. So I've got one that it's potted right now. I'm trying to root. I got it. I'll talk to you about vendors here in a little bit. Again, lots of Apuntia. But look at all those glacials. Oh my gosh. And I'll show you some of the rocks that I got the other day. This is cool. Do not discount evergreen in your rock gardens, right? You can create, again, microclimates, right? Microenvironments. That right there, they might have put a pocket of soil in there for it, right? Some organics for that evergreen to grow. It's probably a mugo, you know, got a bunch of sedum ground covers around it.
You have to remember, the evergreens that you grow in the park garden, you can take inspiration from the folks that grow the bonsai.
Yep.
Because the bonsai soils that they grow them in
Are awful. They're terrible. It's like a malnourished human. That's basically why the bonsai don't grow, right? But they live.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they grow an outcrop. Yeah. Well, they actually, so in the nursery setting, they had to kind of do the genetics backwards, where they grow more open. You know, like you can see this little guy here. There's like, you got space between all the branches, you know, so I'm not sure which variety that would be. That might even be a full-size mugo they're pruning. Yeah, so.
Dale has overshot who's.
Right.
So I'm guessing it's a.
Yeah. So, but out in nature, they grow more open, so to get like slow mound and, you know, valley cushion that are very dense, they have to back breed them, I guess you would almost call it, to get them to get thicker, you know. So yeah, these things are designed to grow in rocky outcrops. One more picture of the rockery here.
I wish I had pictures of my backpacking trip to the Bruce Trail with follow the Niagara escarpment. So on top of the escarpment,
Yeah.
the whole place looked like a shrubbery of various junipers.
Oh, nice.
You know,
Yeah.
in places it's like it's just growing in pockets of well, it's not even dirt, but it's more like you know, pine gum
Sure.
on top of rock.
Yeah, very acidic. Very, very acidic. So I wanted to show you this picture because again, you've got, you know, all these succulents and different stuff like that, but then that is a juniper, right? Probably for Cummins Nana, you know, or something like that, but a ground cover juniper, you know, in the rockery. Junipers again grow naturally in these very like rocky outcropping type settings, but you can include evergreens too. Don't forget about that. That's so cool that we can have that different texture, different smells, you know, different times of the year, you have different smells from that kind. I love that evergreen scent. And this is, again, this garden here, this is from the Xeric garden, one he designed. This is a development, you know, and they've got this gorgeous rock garden that he brought in, you know, so they don't have to be messy. They can be organized, you know, and look very nice. And a lot of variety in there too. So I'm hoping this plays. Oh, you're probably not going to be able to hear the, I'll turn it up here, see if I can. So this is my sedum, this is sedum night embers. It is the largest burgundy sedum I know of. It gets up to 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide. Yeah, it gets huge. But if you were up here, you could hear it. So you can see hundreds on one plant, hundreds of pollinators. And it literally, I got up close to it. Yeah, see, it's not, it's got to kind of update. It just, like the plant is alive, you know? So we don't just plant these for looks, they can support the local pollinators as well. So
the the plant for the as far as like native versus non-native is the fact that some of the non-native plants are considered junk food. So they're not like nutritiously pollen or nutritiously nectar. So even though you might have a lot of leaves or a lot of pollinators on it, it's not really good for that. What is like?
So because I install pollinator gardens and prairies and all that as well as part of my business, this is a discussion I do have. I mean, you could get into a lot of detail and a lot of depth on that. What I will say is that if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, look up Mount Cuba Research Center. They're out in New England, and they have looked into a lot of that. Even the butterfly bush, you know, they've looked into butterfly bush as well. The Buddleia. So up here, Buddleia does not throw seed as far as I know. There might be an older variety that does, but I've never seen one propagate. I haven't seen them out in the woods. I spent my entire adult life in the woods and I've never seen one. But there was a lot of debate where people were saying that, you know, the butterfly bush pollen and the butterfly bush nectar was lower quality and everything else. And then you've got people fighting for the dandelions, you know, but they don't want the butterfly bush, you know, and so then you got another non-native there. Here's the bottom line. There's no data that proves conclusively that that nectar or pollen is of lower quality. A lot of times that is said, and there might be a study out there now that's showing it. I have yet to find, you know, where they're showing that that is a lower quality nectar or pollen. If I can get someone supporting pollinators through planting sedums and planting lavender and things like that, it's not a parking lot. It's not another carpet of grass. You know, it's an entry into the world of supporting pollinators, supporting local ecology, because pretty quickly they're going to find coneflowers, they're going to find black-eyed Susans, they're going to find bee balm, they're going to find all that stuff. And so in my mind, if the pollinators are using it, because these species have had thousands, tens of thousands of years of adapting, and you know, if you get into the world of how bees work, even our native bees, you would almost think they're smarter than us. You know, the whole hive mindset and things like that. So if it was low quality, I think they would know, and they wouldn't use it.
Do know, yeah.
You know, I mean, the fact that they can tell if a flower has been, there's an electrical charge on the flower, whether it's positive or negative electrical charge, and the bee goes up to the flower and it sees the charge, and that'll tell them whether or not that flower, the nectar is gone or the pollen is gone. You know, so yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
I just hear it. Like,
Yeah.
It gets very contentious.
It does, and I've given up on those arguments, because most of the people that are going to argue that are going to argue a whole lot of other things that are no benefit to anyone in the room. You know, if I can get people putting this stuff in the ground, the pollinators use it, then we'll start talking about other things. At least they're not planting lawn, and they're not putting streets in or a parking lot on it and things like that. You know, it's beautiful.
I don't.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right though. It gets to be a big debate.
That are product that I
Yeah.
never going to get to about.
Yep, I've got about 100. Yeah.
Well, I'm cat, but he's got a good size.
Yeah.
But I can't.
So in my photo there, you see the rock garden. The whole area behind that rock garden is all native pollinator plants. It's a big native garden, a couple 100 square foot native garden. You know, so I mix them all. So moving into crevice gardens, this is a home that a lot of people haven't gotten into. Super cool. That pot, I think I actually saw one of the videos where they did one of these. The guys that wrote the book, The Crevice Garden, Seth and Kenneth, I think are their first names. I can't remember the last name though. Really cool. They kind of introduced the world to crevice gardening. They went over and studied under, I think, of a Danish instructor and brought it back to the US and have been doing this for a while now. So they're designed to mimic the rocky outcrops, cliff sides, different things like that. This is a horrible place for a plant to grow, unless you're one of these plants. An obvious easy plant to do is the hens and chicks, the sempervivum, because they have that kind of tendril, they grow on that gets the roots out from the side. So you can literally, they in their videos, they'll say they literally take like chopsticks and tongs and like shove them down between the rocks, right? And so sometimes they go through quite a few heads before they stop popping the roots off. But these plants are rooted in between these rocks. And then down in the pot, there is like sand and, some more like moisture holding, which is what would be underneath in the rock, things like that. So you've got moisture retention down low, but again, the crown and the root system and all that are fairly dry. They're not staying very wet. They use a lot of, they have some karst outcroppings, and then they use a lot of slate in their planting. So you think local materials, we could use limestone, shale breaks apart, but this over here, I think this might be shit, but this right here, I actually have 6 pieces I'm using for the crevice garden. It's more slab. So this actually was slab. If you take a rock hammer and you just kind of hit it right on the edge and it'll break off into slab. But
Is that? What's the picture?
that pot, I believe, it's only, I mean, if you look at this, if you look at the size of the hens and chicks there, it's like maybe like that, so it's not huge, but it probably weighs about 100 pounds. you put all that in there and you're moving that with a dolly. Yeah. So, you guys can read all this, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of key, is that if you do have like these plants, you might be able to use because you could strip them, but I wouldn't probably use anything bigger than a quart, because you got to strip the roots and then get them between those rocks. But you don't have to do them with that narrow of slabs, That's what they do. Yeah. So you maybe even cut that. Maybe even take that and cut it into 4 or 8, And that was one thing that the guys said, and they say in their book too, is that with these, when you plant them, that one might be 3 or 4 years old, maybe 5 years old. The plants have multiplied. So once they get happy, they're happy. So this is kind of what a crevice garden design looks like. So you can have several inches between the slabs. This is from the book, The Crevice Garden. Kenton Seth and Paul Spriggs. There we go. I have not found the book yet. The library has it. That book sold out years ago, and there's like no copies of it. It is the manual for crevice garden. This book is unbelievable with the pages I've seen. Yeah. So this is kind of your design. So you have, your clay or whatever you're building it on top of. So you're looking to build it up, because you're trying to recreate that outcrop. So then this is, like all gravel or just a very free draining. The one Plant Delights, they used a product called Permatil, which is they said it's kind of like vermiculite, but not. It's weird. They said it has a really high ionic transfer, so it allows a lot of free flow of nutrients and things like that from the rock. But you got a really, really free draining media here. It's going to hold a little bit of moisture because it's underneath and all that, but it's going to drain. So you're not pooling water, right? It's draining right through. But some of these plants will end up rooting into the substrate underneath. So this is a bigger crevice garden that was made. This is just a picture I found online, but it literally looks like an outcrop. But this is a man-made crevice garden. So just a bunch of rocks set vertically. And look at the size of these plants. So these rocks are, you're using the loader to put those in, and then you're putting the plants in between. So you're stuffing a little bit of media in there, and then the plant's going with it, and then you water it like crazy for the first year while it establishes those roots. So this is one that Kenton and Paul created. And so it's, again, but look how little it is. So that's a pathway light, you know, so then you can see how little the area is. But there's like 2,000 pounds of rock in that one. I watched the video on this one. That's either an orchid.
No, I think it's for the heart of
Blatilla. It might be a Blatilla, or yeah, it could be another different orchid. It's some kind of orchid. Yeah.
What is that?
Hepatica, right there. Yep.
I never would have put the two.
Yeah.
Put hepatica.
You never know, man. You never know. So here's another one. You know, so just literally just taking some slabs and putting them upright, and then you know, this looks like moss phlox, you know, the ground cover phlox, Angelina, another sedum. You got something else over here. I don't know what that is, but maybe, yeah. But yeah, so you get, I mean, you can do this here in Ohio though. So these are crevice gardens, and you're setting those rocks in. So you're excavating down a little bit because the rocks need stability, but you're taking slabs, and you can do this. You know, you kind of think about that outcrop. That one that he created in Minnesota, it's kind of a crevice garden too, right? Because you're filling between the rocks and you're putting the plants in. So crevice gardens don't just have to be slabs, but it's a neat concept. I don't know if I have the patience to create that. That's a lot of work. Oh yeah, that is a lot of work. I watched a big one, a video of a big one, and oh my gosh, the amount of excavation they did was unbelievable. Here's some little ones. Yeah, almost in like, you can see the size of the plant. So almost like a bonsai pot, maybe like that big.
Yeah.
Hey, look, and it's alive. All right. Moving on, because I still want to show you the pictures of the plants and talk for a little bit. We've already talked some, but Xeric Garden soil. This is kind of I love this. Soils are just so cool. Most people tell you soils contain 3 parts: sand, silt, and clay. And I know I'm hitting you guys with a fire hose of information here, but this is all really good stuff. But they say, well, soils are sand, silt, and clay. That's only the rocky part, right? Sand, silt, and clay are rocks in miniature form. Clay being the most fine, silt being between, and then sand, like the sand like this on the beach and all that stuff. No one really talks about the air, water, and organic matter components of the soil. Much like we say, you know, we're in growing zone 6B, so you should be able to grow anything they can grow in Utah, right? No, we're missing a piece. You know, our ecoregion is the temperate deciduous forest, and Ohio has 4 individual ecoregions within that, sub-ecoregions. Whereas Utah is high desert, you know, is mostly high desert, even though there's zone 6B. So we think about how much air is in that, how much water, how much organic matter. What are those components of all of this? And then even for us, so you see here, you know, we don't even sit in there with what we're doing here, right? With creating these gardens. We don't even sit in the sand. We need the Xeric garden soil triangle over here, right? Because sand, you guys are probably well aware, holds a lot of moisture. Sand can really hold a lot of moisture, you know, and so we use pea gravel, we use 57 river rock, we use cobble that's like fist sides, you know, and all that, because we need to get that water away. But pea gravel does hold some moisture too. Like you go down 3-4 inches into pea gravel, it's wet, you know. So these Xeric plants still do need food and water, but they're getting it a lot from some of the sediment that works down. The roots are attaching to the gravel. It's mind-blowing that they can get minerals out of gravel. Yeah, and then so funny. We already talked about limestone. You guys took care of that. So any questions about the soil? Moving on to boulders. All right, so this is where I get my boulders. It's kind of my honey hole. It's actually, I don't actually tell anybody where it is because they don't harvest a ton of boulders, but it's a site here in Ohio. So this is a load I picked up the other day. 6,200 pounds of boulders in one load. It was awesome. Oh, it was a good day. We were down in the pit for about 2 hours. And literally when I get these are glacial erratics. When I get these things, it's the first time they've seen the sun since the ice age. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so cool. This is actually one of them here, this little guy. If any of you would come and look at it, I'm not gonna look at them actually. Pretty heavy. It's converted to quartzite, it's not metamorphic. I think, because I got a huge one, it's in the picture. I think this is ancient coral. Just the way it looks and all that. If you go down to the Florida Keys and you look at the bedrock down there, it honestly looks just like that. And so I've got a big piece. Here's some different pictures of these rocks after they were, oh, that's so bright compared to my computer. This right here, this rock looks just like that, but you can see how much more porous it is. It almost looks like tufa, right? That rock is like that. Super, super cool. Very, very heavy. Definitely limestone. Oh yeah, definitely limestone converted to quartzite though, because you get that sugary texture when it's been even more compacted. I have no idea how it kept all of the porosity in it. But that one right there has some different striping in it. Granite of some sort mixed with something else. That one's actually about 3 feet in diameter. That's my heaviest one. Like you were talking to big guys. I'm placing that rock on Sunday. I'll let you know how it goes. It's going to a friend's house. This one's a little bit smaller piece of like pink and these rocks are mind blowing. I have no idea how the minerals distribute and all that. Cause like this one's salt and pepper. It's black and white, like a quartz mixed with like a black quartz or something or obsidian. That rock probably about this big. The guy I buy them from, he saw it, we loaded it and he's like, huh. I was like, hey, they're your rocks until I buy them. He's like, no, he's like finders keepers. He was going to keep it if I didn't take it. So then we have the ones like I have over here. So this rock is sitting on the table there. This is like Arizona sandstone. These come from Acorn Nursery. And then these are the slabs of that rock. So I've got like 6 of those slabs. This is about basketball size. It is solid crystal. And I can get more of these. Just so you guys are aware, they got whole bins full of this stuff. And then that one over there, I also got there. It's that one is sitting on the table. And then this one was really interesting. So we have a lot of shale, and I found this piece down in the pit. The top of it literally looks like fossilized dinosaur skin. No joke. Like it is crazy. It's got, venation in it and patterning and all that. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Super, super cool. It's shale that converted to quartzite. I thought it might fall apart, but I looked at it. It's definitely hard. It's never going to break down. So yeah. They would both be everywhere I go is contractor only.
Called Select Stone. And this club may or may not have members do little pilgrimages up there because they have the big bids, but it's all like public. Like,
oh, cool.
The public can come in, you can get giant pieces of whatever the blue rock is. For like, no, it's like they call it turquoise, it's not. But it's you can get that like, I don't know, $1 a pound, something like that. You get big chunks of rose quartz for $2.50 a pound.
Yeah.
Lays rock.
Super cool.
But yeah, it's up here. It's up here. Called Select Stone. So
we've talked about a bunch of the different kinds of plants. Our zone here in Columbus is 6B. Apple Valley is 5B. There's a tiny little couple-mile area in Ohio that's still 5B because they're the highest point in Ohio. And then Apple Valley is 5B.
It's not the highest. That's a little thing.
Oh yeah, they're 1,400 feet, which is crazy because, so there must just be a microclimate or something. Because they did say because of the elevation, it's 5B. Yeah.
I have points over, I have points if I don't know.
Yeah, it's like 1,400 feet or something, or 1,500 feet. Yeah. So, yeah, so then you have most of the state is 6A, 6B, and then you get down to like Lawrence County and Southern Ohio, and Portsmouth area. That's actually 7A, which is, they must have some fun down there. Any plant geeks down there, that's cool. There's a whole new world of plants you can do at 7A. Yeah, that's like almost Carolinas.
Yeah, 7A is just grow rosemary, Ohio.
I want to grow monkey puzzle or Orchiria.
There's that.
Yeah, I do.
He's his own country, he's being on.
Yeah, I do. I zone push at my house too. I've got a lot of stuff that I pushed. So these are all the different sites where I've purchased plants. Mesa Garden's really good for seeds. They got a huge selection of seeds. High Country, good online. Mountain Crest, you'll see the sempervivums. They got a massive selection of hens and chicks and a bunch of other cool stuff. I just got an order from them. Believe it or not, Home Depot and Lowe's. Your local box store garden centers.
Walnut Nursery was the name that I knew them by.
Okay.
They're like SW.
Yeah.
Or something like that. There's like, oh gosh, they have like 1,000 different varieties.
You get lost in there. I can get you guys just about anything, which is cool. There's, I can help you find anything. There's a lot here in Central Ohio that I can help you find. Believe it or not, Etsy is a great place to find plants. I've recently purchased from them.
From that color.
Yeah.
Is in Minnesota, or Michigan. It's native to Colorado, but it's a Michigan grower.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that outcome was in Michigan.
Yeah.
There it is, but.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
My
I know a lot.
Yeah. My Yucca Nana came off Etsy. Cold Hardy Cactus doesn't have a logo, so I didn't throw it on here, but they're another good one. Oakland is a good place. Groovy carries a huge variety. And then Ethical Desert's neat. I found him. He's in New Mexico. Got a lot of really cool stuff too. He does releases every year. He releases a sheet and you can buy through him too. A lot of Cold Hardy agaves at Ethical Desert. So now we're going to move into some plants. I'm going to go through this a little quicker. So and again, I'm just touching the surface. I don't want your brain to, because there's so much to take in. These are some of your main, like, hardy plants, a lot of the ones that are, kind of tried and tested. I have all 3 of these in my garden at home and they do well. So yeah, some kind of serious. What's cool is the Trigloca diatus. Yeah, there you go. There's a big word for you. That one can get, depending on the variety, they have a giant variety that even in Ohio would get like 2-3 feet. So yeah. Yeah, most of them though, I actually got those seeds from Mesa I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna try it. We'll see.
That stuff growing lights in.
Yeah. So most of those are getting 8 to 12 inches. And then this one should be like the state cactus of Utah. It's everywhere. They get 4-6 inches, big ones, 3-4 inches usually. And then this is actually the one in my garden that's now like 2 feet tall. So Choya, the Cylindro puncha. And of course, our native prickly pear, everybody knows about. And then we move into like the sedums, which everybody, we can all grow those. These are a great beginner plant. The plum dazzled and the night embers are more upright sedums. There's another one back in black. They're all just different sizes and different forms. And then Angelina Lighticants and Dream Dazzler is wicked. I just found that one last year. They're all ground covers. Angelina is the most aggressive. That in just 2 years went from a quart size to this. And if it gets happy, it's everywhere. And little pieces will break off and they'll roll, and then they'll root like 3 feet away. Oh my gosh. And then Lidocins is a really neat one. I haven't seen that at a garden center. I get that from Mill Creek. There's one over here if you guys want to see it. It's a beautiful, one of the most beautiful blue grays, and it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, so let's go to the next one. And then we have Sedum ternatum, which is a really cool, one of the few sedums that can grow in shade. Wildfire is kind of like plum dazzled. It's a little bit shorter, 6-8 inches, but a little mound. And then John Creech, if you want quick cover from a sedum, John Creech is, yeah. And it gets these beautiful pink flowers on it. Did I put it in here? No. That same property where I'm doing the crevice garden and the rock garden this week, I did about 50 foot by 4 foot. It was 99 of those plants, quart size, that I put in just to cover it. And they just wanted a single plant. Yeah.
Is that a variety of
Spurium. Yeah, it's a spurium.
Yeah.
So when I'm planting 99 of those, I did 99 of those in like 2 hours.
I love blueberries.
This guy is your best friend. I do not take holes with shovels anymore. You start getting into the augers, that comes from a company called Power Planter. You'll never go back. They're unbelievably amazing. I planted 800 square feet of landscape in 1 day with one of those by myself. Yeah. It was amazing. I can do. Cemetery moss. That's awesome.
Well, because people put it in the cemeteries.
Yeah.
It is one of the fastest, it will out fast Johnny Creek.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's green, it's light green.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And it has yellow flowers?
yeah, yellow flowers.
Go off to the races.
It is. When you come to my house,
It's
like
a
what you
weed.
want. It's a total weed.
So we have some euphorbias that will grow in Ohio. You know, like, did you guys know poinsettias are euphorbia too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the euphorbias don't, I mean, that's like looking at clouds, you know, everyone's different. You know, it's crazy. So it's like a catch-all. These are all euphorbias. Miner's Merlot. I'm trying again this year. I think I planted it too late last year. Everybody knows bonfire, it's everywhere. And then Mercenites is really cool. I've only seen that at Mill Creek. So I've never seen that at a nursery.
I got it to grow once and never been without it since.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't invasive in a lot of states.
What's that?
It's actually listed invasive in a few states, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, yeah. So then we moved to the sempervivums. So this is chick charms. Those are like, that's the new thing. These guys went crazy. They're also the ones that created the sun sparkler sedums, like the Dream Dazzler and all that. Look at that. Yeah, that's actually where I got the picture. Yes. In the sun. Give it the sun.
There you go.
Yeah.
The birds in spring, they have some of the most amazing.
Oh yeah.
Colors.
Yeah.
In spring, and then they tend to go kind of green.
Some of them can, yeah. But there's, you know, the old fashioned ones now are like cobweb that's been around for a million years. That one's called silverine, but it's just one of the chocolate purple sedums. You know, those are big though. Some of those, you know, you get the rosettes that are like 6 inches across. But this is the new kid on the block. These guys are unbelievable. And here's, you know, crevice garden, again, another smaller one. Look at that. What is he, like 5 stories up with a little crevice garden? That's pretty cool.
They didn't roll with them.
But yeah, it's just filled with sedums. And then a trough garden just covered in sedums as well, you know. Okay.
So. And I may have blown it all at, one very, I'm trying to plant it, doesn't have like 42 pages of nothing but that.
Wow.
And they're actually off.
And you now own 700 varieties of hens and chicks.
They're at, now they didn't say like how big of a pot you got. but their average cost was $4 to $4.85.
That's not bad. Probably 2 inch, maybe 3 inch. Yeah.
Like
Yep.
that. But they had some really, really beautiful ones that I couldn't find anywhere else.
Cool.
And they, what I like about it is their picture shows, spring, summer.
Oh yeah.
Fall.
Because their color does change over the course of the year too. Yeah.
It's now, my opinion.
So moving into yuccas, there's a bunch of different ones. Filamentosa color guard is like kind of the industry standard. Commercial companies will even use that in beds. It'll grow in clay. So if you want a yucca that will literally grow anywhere and make you angry because it appears 4 feet away from itself, filamentosa is a rhizome. It's a rhizomatous. So color guard will spread. It's beautiful, but just understand that if you put it in. Baccata doesn't tend to spread as much. I've not had a lot of success with it, but I talked to Jared up at Groovy. He and I are pretty good friends, and he's sold these before, the yucca baccata, the beak, not beak, that's for strata. What's that?
He's a lot of altitude.
Yeah.
You're looking up where it grows like 8,000-10,000.
It's, yeah, and again,
Moved away from the plant.
Yeah.
And then I planted another one inside that on your door.
Yeah. So a lot of these too
grows, baccata grows
very slow.
slower than
Yeah.
the average agave.
Yeah. Yes. So then we move into our old friend Luisia. So pretty. So Sunset Strain is the one you guys see here tonight. Rainbow Mix is kind of cool. It's got more parallel venation in the petals, a little bit different. They're both just Luisia cotyledon varieties. That's another one that I do have available coming in May. So if you're interested in those, you want to try them. Then the lavenders, so we have some different sizes of lavenders available to us. I used to only smell synthetic lavender oil or scent and all that. And I was like, gross. And then I got lavender. Oh my gosh. When one plant will fill this entire room with the aroma. And so Sweet Romance and Super Blue are, I guess you call them minis, because they only get maybe like that, 12, 14, maybe 18 at most, and very dense. And then Phenomenal is that. It gets big though, like, 3x3, 2x3, kind of that size. And I am finding sometimes they do well in highly organic soils, but they do like a lot of drainage. They'll grow in those really like the edge of a driveway, kind of situation. Hot, dry. Yeah, give them as much sun as you can. Oh yeah. I have a bunch. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Blue Fortune's one of my favorite. Yeah. So grasses, so sea oats, really cool. Takes full shade. So if you have a shade garden, like a rock garden in the shade, this would be one that you'd want in there. Very, very beautiful seed heads. Yeah, they do. I never thought about that. That's awesome. That's faithful. You and my sons and me, we would all get along great. Purple lovegrass is native. Gets these insane, it's like Whoville in a grass, right? Beautiful purple flower, head on it. It only gets 12, 14 inches, so it's good to pocket. You can use it in like a smaller boulder situation. Oh yeah. Go to any native plant nursery. Yeah. Or Natives in Harmony, Silo Garden in Delaware. They carry that in stock. Yep. And then one of my personal favorite, this grass I put in every landscape that I plant. The nursery industry finally found out that it's one of the most amazing grasses that has ever been created. This is little blue stem. It is native to pretty much the whole US. One of the most versatile grasses you can use, anywhere from 36 to 42-ish inches, and only 18 to 24 inches wide. And it maintains that. You can see how straight, very erect. Winter color like the brown, you can leave it for that. But over the course of the season, it's going to start off kind of green. Some of them, like the blues, is more of a frosted color. And then as the season goes on, you hit August, man, it starts shutting down. What a show. Purple, blue, salmon, orange, yellow, red. I mean, just wow. It's like the lights turn on and
It's a warm season grass.
it is, yeah.
So it's like
Mine are coming up right now. Yep.
You can kind of sit there for a while and then don't.
All of a sudden, just
Till like.
yeah.
In June or something.
The internal clock and the calculator, you know, it's calculating all the growing degree days. As soon as it hits that right number of growing degree days, it just shoots up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's just if you don't have this in your landscape, in your rock garden, it's a must have. You want to talk about texture and color and all that? Holy cow. Yep.
Would you need the rock garden soil?
No. Oh no, it'll grow in clay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a prairie grass.
So you can
Not
shove
the
the
perfect, you know, birds that are-
Yeah. Yeah. Full sun, you know, or actually you can do 4 to 6 hours even, and it'll do okay. But it performs best in full sun. But it's all such a versatile. There's like 15, 20 varieties of this now, and they're coming up. Cinnamon Sticks is a new release. So it's the lower half is kind of green, and then it's got this like blood, it's almost like Japanese blood grass, but in a blue stem form. You know, it's got this red tips, these burgundy red tips, like half the grass. So Blue Paradise is one of the taller ones, and it just wow. Yeah, all I can say with that grass is wow. You know, and it's in every nursery now, like even like Oakland and all that, they're carrying it. Some years the spring, like the winter to spring stock doesn't do as well. I don't know why. A couple years in a row, their plugs or seed stock didn't do well, and so it wasn't available till like June. So keep an eye on the nurseries, you know, all the way up through June and stuff, and you'll see it come through. Again, another nemesis that I will always have, my ice plant, Delasperma. You know, these are all the 3 varieties I have here are compact low growers. So they're going to like hug the ground. They only get up to about 1 inch tall, and then the flowers bring up another inch or two. I had a Granita raspberry last 3 years, and it literally, I mean, it was like this. It was a mat, and it had 1,000 flowers on it. It was the most beautiful thing in the world. And then the next season, it just died. Just melted. These things melt. Have you ever watched those? You ever watch the plant just melt? These things, when they die, they'll be there, and then a week later, where'd my plant go? They literally melt like an ice cube and just disappear. It is the weirdest thing. Super, super succulent leaves. Anybody knows zoanthid corals, right? If you know that, like saltwater tanks and all that, this literally, those flowers are about the size of a quarter, and they're all over the plant. The banana, like all 3 of these, the $quarter to $half size flowers, and as much sun as you can give them. They need, but I'm going to try it again this year. I'm going to strip the roots and then put it in a very sharply drained soil and see how long I can get it to last. We talked about evergreens. So junipers do really well. Mugos do well. Slow mound's a good one. It's like an in-between size. It'll maybe 2 by 2. Blue star is again like a 1 by 2 bun, neat one. And then the rug junipers, you can prune those to whatever size you want. Icy blue is a really tight. I mean, it's only going to get up like 4 or 6 inches off the ground. Blue rug will get about 8 to 12 inches off the ground. And if you let them grow, they will do that. But you can easily cut them from underneath. Cut the growth from underneath. And these all do really well though in very rocky type situations. And there's a whole bunch more. I just didn't want to, again, overload you guys with a bunch of different. And then here at the end, we have a list of just a bunch of other plants that you can use. This one's actually cool. Blue Hobbit, Sea Holly. Thrift is a good one. Those I have a hard time overwintering those. Again, I think I need sharper drainage. The silver gem violet. This is actually native to Ohio. Viola walteri. It's in either threatened or endangered in the state now. But silver gem is widely available if you can get it before everybody else does.
That photograph that I showed.
Yeah.
Indicates that Viola walteri is native to Franklin County, but I've never.
Yeah, historically maybe. I've only heard it be in southern Ohio. Yeah.
Nice, like, so.
It is, but it's different.
It's at Fort Hill.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
also Fort Hill's great.
okay,
They're putting a very special place there. and
yeah,
you Take a wildflower walk, we used to every April or May, and the naturalists would take us out to where it was.
yeah.
But it's extremely rare.
It's a very, very different form of violet because it's mounding ground cover, 3 to 4 inches tall.
Spreads by runs, which.
Yeah. Yep. And then,
And it's more than it's here. It's actually
it is.
Further south.
If you don't have Allium Millennium, that's an essential in your scape. That's a really good one. And then let's see, what was the other one I got excited about? Oh, Trade Scantia. So that's Spiderwort. Thank you. Yeah, so we have our Ohio Spiderwort that's like that tall and goes everywhere once it takes. This one is called Little Doll. It's a miniature Trade Scantia. It only gets like this tall. Super cool, and it's clumping. I don't know. I need to figure that one out. But it's like this. It's like the bellflower out there that it's just a little mound. So that's really neat.
First of all, let me put the word on pussy tails. That's become my lawn replacement.
Yeah.
It's a low creeper, and right now it's flowering, so the flower stalks bring it up. To
Yeah, about 12 inches.
But, when it's done flowering, I cut that down, and pretty much it's a one low lawn.
Yeah. So what I wanted to let you guys know, a few of these plants were already spoken for, but these all are for sale. The quart size are $8, and then these two are 18 each. So I just wanted to, and then if anybody would like one of these kinds, I actually brought these as a gift to everyone. So you can feel free to grab you a little pot of thyme, payment through Venmo, Zelle, or cash on these. That's it. That's the